Hello and welcome to Taking AFV News. My name's Tom and it is Friday night and I'm sitting at home because my wife's out of town this weekend. So I'm just enjoying some local craft brew in my Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom collectible glass. In case anybody's wondering, fun little fact about me, other than collecting obviously tank books and 172 scale model tanks, collectible glasses from the 80s. So, obviously this is not the most serious video I've ever made, and I thought it would be fun today to talk about, well, the Kettenkrad, because it's like officially like Kettenkrad Day or something. I checked my computer this morning, and the first video I saw was from Military History Visualized, because they had done a video on the vehicle a couple weeks ago, and then had a new video where they were like confronting some people that had tried to correct them on a thing and back and forth, and then the Tank Museum and the Tank Chat series had a video on it, so it's like everybody's talking about that silly little motorcycle half-track thing that the Germans built. So, and it got me thinking, because I remember when Military History Visualized posted that video a few weeks ago, my first reaction in the comments was like, yeah, I can think of some better vehicles that are kind of comparable. I mean, there's nothing absolutely comparable, because nobody else tried to combine a motorcycle and a half-track. I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous idea. And then, made it as complicated as possible because, German half-track design. What was it, something like 70 grease points on the tracks on that thing? So, what I came up with, the vehicle I thought was roughly comparable but far superior, is the M29 Weasel, which is a U.S. vehicle that was introduced sort of midway through the war. Built for a requirement for an operation that never happened, but there was an operation, I think, for like Norway, where they wanted something that was small enough to be transportable by air and could travel through snow. And so Studebaker came up with a vehicle, the original version, a few different designations, but the earlier ones were the M28 and then the M29. And then there was also a version called the M29C, which was altered to be a bit more suitable in terms of in the water, because it was a somewhat amphibious vehicle. Now, people familiar with the Weasel might go, well, it seems like it's quite a bit bigger than a Kettenkrad, and it's true, but not as much as you'd think, if you look at them from the perspective of weight. So, the information I could find, and it is sort of frustrating because finding, like, stats on these vehicles was not as easy as you'd think. But for the Kettenkrad, most of the stats I pulled from Spielberger's book on German half-tracks, which I have a digital copy of, but it's in German, so it took a little bit of running stuff through translations. And then for the M29, honestly, some of these stats I just pulled off of Wikipedia. So if they're wrong, there's always a chance with Wikipedia, but for the most part, like things as basic as stats, they kind of usually get right. But so I'm just gonna risk it because I don't have any books that actually list the stats for the Weasel. But anyway, so Kettenkrad, the weight on that thing was 1,560 kilograms, so about a ton and a half or so. And then the M29 is 1,700 kilograms dry, 2,019 kilograms loaded. So 2 tons. So it's really not. I mean, it's 1/4 as much heavier as the Kettenkrad. So the weight difference isn't as much as you'd think. Obviously Kettenkrad carries 3 people and the Weasel seats 4. So what's the difference? The real big difference. Well, the big difference isn't engines. Kettenkrad's got 36 horsepower versus 70 for the Weasel, so the Weasel's got a significant power advantage, and that translates to more pulling ability, more cargo carrying ability. And those numbers, again, like what I found was a little odd. So like the Spielberger book says 325 kilograms is the capacity for the Kettenkrad. Another source said 500 kilograms plus 2 people, so it's hard to say. For the Weasel, it's the source just said half a ton. As far as towing capability, for Kettenkrad, the Spielberger book, as far as I can tell, doesn't list a towing capacity, but in the Military History Visualized video, they said about half ton. For the Weasel, one source says 3,800 pounds, which is maximum allowed what you're going to tow. Now I know, and I've sort of got some video footage playing in the corner here. You'll see at one point it's towing a 40 millimeter anti-aircraft gun, so whatever that weighs, the Weasel can certainly pull that. And then as far as speed, the difference, Kettenkrad, try saying Kettenkrad 5 times in a row. You can't do it. I tried. Trust me. Speed, 44 miles per hour versus 36 for the Weasel. Not a huge difference, and frankly, those in neither vehicle is going to hit that sort of in the rough terrain that they're both sort of best used for. Because, as far as I can tell, when people are singing the Kettenkrad's praises, it's sort of, its use in the Eastern Front where the tracks help it navigate the not so ideal conditions in the Eastern Front as far as roads and mud and all that stuff. But, the M29 Weasel is, you just look at it. Look at the size of the tracks on that thing. It is going to be pretty hard for that thing to get stuck. The ground pressure is very low. In fact, one source even noted that it could drive through over anti-tank mines without setting them off because the ground pressure was so low on the vehicle. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that was one source, and it sounds fairly believable. So yeah, in a head-to-head comparison, I'm saying M29 Weasel, definitely just all-around better pick than a Kettenkrad. Yes, it's a little bigger, but that you're talking twice the horsepower, better towing capacity, better hauling capacity. The Weasel's amphibious. It's limited in that degree to fairly calm waters. You're not going to be taking that thing out into the ocean or anything, but still, it's a pretty good capability to have if you're dealing with swamps or rivers, lakes, whatever. So yeah, it's just all around a more practical vehicle, and it doesn't have a useless tire sticking out of the front like a motorcycle getting caught on whatever, or those hideously complicated German tracks that are so maintenance intensive. It's just got a rubber tracks like U.S. half tracks, which a little easier to swap out and deal with, I would think. Now, the other question is which vehicle's cooler, and what's interesting is both vehicles, there's quite a few of them out there in private hands. These are vehicles people could actually own. You don't have to, own a huge garage, and they're fairly small, so they're within people's means to maintain and whatnot. Now, I personally think something that can swim is pretty darn cool. I like that better than just something that looks sort of like a motorcycle, but I'm not really a motorcycle guy anyway. So I'm voting the Weasel's cooler too, but I also have an American bias. So anyhow, it'd be fun to see either vehicle, and I'm sure they're both very fun to drive around and play with. So that was just my thoughts regarding these two somewhat iconic, light, small transports from World War II. Like I said, not my most serious video by any stretch. This one's more just sort of for entertainment, so if you disagree with me, that's totally okay. I'm not going to take it too personally that I don't have a lot invested in this argument, other than just, I think it's sort of fun to sometimes go through this stuff. So, hope you all have a good weekend and enjoy yourselves, and we will see you next week with probably some more book reviews, and maybe someday we'll get around to making another Tanks of World War II episode. Yeah, the last one just, footage all got corrupted, and I just sort of got disgusted and just haven't had the time to mess with it since. So, anyhow, take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.